The little town of Harmony Creek wasn't always so harmonious. In fact, it was quite good at gossiping. Everyone knew everyone else's business, sometimes even before they did. And old Silas lived right in the middle of it all, tucked away in his small, cluttered workshop at the edge of town. Silas was a woodcarver. His hands, gnarled like the branches he worked with, could coax the most amazing shapes from simple blocks of wood. He carved squirrels that seemed ready to scamper away, owls with wise, knowing eyes, and even tiny, perfect roses that looked like they could bloom at any moment. But Silas was lonely. His wife had passed away many years ago, and though he had friends, the big old house always felt too quiet. The townsfolk, well, they mostly left him alone. They thought he was a bit odd. He wore the same worn overalls every day, his beard was long and untamed, and he talked to the birds in his garden. They smiled politely when they saw him but whispered behind their hands as soon as he was out of earshot. Poor Silas, they'd say. Lost in his own little world. He didn't mind so much. He had his wood, his tools, and his memories. But sometimes, late at night, when the wind howled through the trees, he wished he had someone to share it all with. Someone to teach, someone to laugh with, someone to simply be there. One sunny afternoon, Silas decided to visit the orphanage in the next town. He'd been thinking about it for months. The thought of a child needing a home, needing a family, tugged at his heart. He knew he wasn't young, and he wasn't rich, but he had plenty of love to give. The drive to the orphanage felt longer than usual. Silas's old truck rattled and coughed, each bump in the road a reminder of his age. He wondered if he was making a mistake. What did he know about raising a child? When he arrived, a kind-faced woman with warm eyes greeted him. She led him inside, and soon he was surrounded by children playing games, drawing pictures, and reading books. Their laughter filled the air, and Silas felt a warmth spread through him. Maybe, just maybe, this was the right thing to do. He watched them, a little overwhelmed, wondering if he could really offer one of these children a good home. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of paperwork, interviews, and home inspections. Silas answered every question patiently, showing the social worker his cozy home, his well-stocked pantry, and his overflowing heart. He talked about his love for woodcarving, his quiet life, and his hope to share it all with a child. Finally, the day arrived when Silas was told he could adopt a little girl named Lily. Lily was 7 years old, with bright, curious eyes and a shy smile. She had been at the orphanage for a long time, and Silas was her last hope for a family. The townsfolk of Harmony Creek, of course, had plenty to say about it. Mrs. Higgins, who owned the bakery, clucked her tongue and said, "Silas adopting a child? At his age? It's just not right." Mr. Abernathy, the postman, shook his head. "He can barely take care of himself. How's he going to raise a little girl?" The whispers followed Silas everywhere. At the general store, at church, even at the town square. People stared, pointed, and gossiped behind their backs. They thought he was too old, too strange, too set in his ways to be a good father. Some even said he was being selfish, wanting a child just to ease his own loneliness. But Silas ignored them. He knew what was in his heart. He knew he could offer Lily a loving home, a safe place to grow, and a chance to be happy. He focused on preparing for her arrival, cleaning the house, buying new clothes, and setting up a bright, cheerful bedroom just for her. When the day finally came to pick Lily up from the orphanage, Silas was a bundle of nerves and excitement. He dressed in his best overalls, the ones he usually only wore to church, and carefully combed his beard. He even brought a bouquet of wildflowers he had picked from his garden. As he drove to the orphanage, he imagined what Lily would be like. Would she be scared? Would she like his house? Would she like him? He hoped, more than anything, that she would feel loved and welcomed. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to face any challenge, as long as he could give Lily the happy life she deserved. He was ready to be a father. Lily was even smaller than Silas had imagined. She clutched a worn teddy bear tightly as she stepped out of the orphanage and into Silas's waiting arms. Her eyes were wide and a little scared, but when she saw the wildflowers he offered, a tiny smile touched her lips. The ride back to Harmony Creek was quiet. Lily mostly stared out the window, watching the trees and fields blur by. Silas didn't push her to talk, knowing she needed time to adjust. He simply hummed a gentle tune and occasionally glanced over to make sure she was comfortable. When they arrived at Silas's house, Lily hesitated at the door. The house was old and a bit creaky, but Silas had tried his best to make it welcoming. He had hung colorful curtains in the windows and placed a bright rug in the hallway. "Welcome home, Lily," he said softly, his voice filled with warmth. Lily took a tentative step inside. She looked around, taking in the cluttered living room, the cozy fireplace, and the shelves filled with Silas's carvings. She didn't say anything, but Silas could see the curiosity in her eyes. For the first few days, Lily was very shy. She mostly stayed close to Silas, following him around the house like a little shadow. She didn't talk much, but she listened intently to everything he said. She seemed especially fascinated by his workshop. Silas's workshop was a magical place, filled with the scent of wood and the sounds of saws and chisels. Lily would sit quietly in a corner, watching Silas work, her eyes wide with wonder. He showed her his tools, explaining what each one did, and let her touch the smooth, unfinished wood. At first, Lily seemed like any other ordinary little girl. She liked to play with dolls, read stories, and draw pictures. But Silas noticed something special about her. She had a quiet intensity, a deep focus that was unusual for a child her age. And she was always drawn to the wood. It was as if she could sense the stories hidden within each piece, waiting to be told. Silas began to suspect that Lily might have a hidden talent, something extraordinary waiting to be discovered. One afternoon, Lily finally spoke, her voice barely a whisper. Can I try?" she asked, pointing to a small piece of soft pine wood. Silas smiled. He had been waiting for this moment. "Of course, Lily," he said. "But wood carving is not easy. It takes patience and care." He carefully selected a small, blunt chisel and showed her how to hold it safely. He explained how to use a mallet to gently tap the chisel, shaving off small pieces of wood. He emphasized the importance of never forcing the tool and always being aware of her fingers. Lily listened intently, her eyes fixed on Silas's hands. She mimicked his movements, holding the chisel awkwardly at first, but gradually gaining confidence. She tapped the mallet lightly, and a tiny sliver of wood curled away. Her eyes lit up with excitement. "Good job, Lily," Silas encouraged. "Now try to shape it. What do you want to make?" Lily thought for a moment, then pointed to a robin perched on a branch outside the window. "A bird," she whispered. Silas helped her sketch a simple outline of a bird on the wood. Then, he guided her hand as she began to carve, showing her how to round the body, shape the wings, and create the delicate features of the head. It was slow and painstaking work. Lily's small hands grew tired, and her brow furrowed with concentration. But she didn't give up. She kept carving, slowly but surely, transforming the rough block of wood into a recognizable bird. Silas was amazed by her dedication and her natural ability. Even though she was just a beginner, her carving had a certain charm, a unique quality that he couldn't quite explain. It was more than just a simple carving, it was a reflection of Lily's own gentle spirit. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the workshop, Lily finally finished her first carving. It wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful in its own way. She held it up for Silas to see, her eyes shining with pride. "I made a bird," she said, her voice filled with wonder. Silas smiled and wrapped his arms around her. "Yes, Lily," he said. "You made a beautiful bird." He knew in that moment that Lily had found something special, something that would bring joy to her life and to the lives of everyone around her. Her hidden talent was beginning to emerge. From that day on, Lily spent almost all her free time in Silas's workshop. She started small, carving simple shapes like stars and hearts. Silas never pressured her, always letting her explore her own ideas and create whatever she wanted. He showed her different types of wood, explaining their textures and grains, and taught her how to sharpen her tools properly. He also encouraged her to observe the world around her. "Look closely, Lily," he'd say. "See how the light falls on the leaves, how the birds move, how the wind shapes the clouds. Everything has a story to tell, and you can tell those stories with your carvings." Lily took his words to heart. She would spend hours in the garden, sketching flowers and animals, studying their forms and details. She even started talking to the birds, just like Silas did, mimicking his gentle tones and listening to their cheerful songs. As her skills grew, Lily's carvings became more intricate and lifelike. She carved squirrels with bushy tails, rabbits with twitching noses, and butterflies with delicate wings. Each carving was unique, reflecting her own growing understanding of the world and her own artistic vision. Silas was incredibly proud of Lily. He knew that she had a special gift, a talent that needed to be nurtured and encouraged. He never criticized her work, always focusing on the positive aspects and offering gentle guidance. He taught her that mistakes were opportunities to learn and that every carving was a step forward on her artistic journey. The townspeople, however, still whispered and gossiped. They couldn't understand why Silas was wasting his time teaching a little girl to carve wood. "It's just a hobby," they said. "She'll grow out of it." They didn't see the passion in Lily's eyes, the dedication in her hands, or the extraordinary talent that was blossoming within her. They were too caught up in their own narrow-minded views to recognize the magic that was happening right before their eyes. But Silas and Lily didn't care what the townspeople thought. They had each other, and they had their art. And that was all that mattered. They were happy, creating their own little world of beauty and wonder, oblivious to the whispers and judgments of the outside world. The little creatures Lily carved seemed to come alive in your hands. Her squirrels had a mischievous glint in their tiny eyes, her rabbits seemed ready to hop away at any moment, and her birds looked as if they might take flight. They weren't just carvings, they were tiny works of art, full of personality and charm. Even Silas, with all his years of experience, was astonished by Lily's talent. He had taught many people the basics of wood carving, but he had never seen anyone progress so quickly or with such natural skill. Her carvings possessed an innate sense of beauty and a delicate touch that was truly remarkable. One day, Mrs. Gable, the town librarian, came to visit Silas. She had heard rumors about Lily's carvings and was curious to see them for herself. Silas hesitantly showed her a few of Lily's creations, and Mrs. Gable gasped in amazement. "These are extraordinary," she exclaimed. "Lily is a true artist. You must enter them in the Harmony Creek annual craft fair." Silas chuckled. "The craft fair? The townspeople would laugh us right out of there." Mrs. Gable shook her head. "Don't listen to them, Silas. Lily's talent deserves to be recognized. And who knows, maybe it will change their minds about you both." Silas was still hesitant, but he knew that Mrs. Gable was right. Lily's carvings were too good to keep hidden away in the workshop. He wanted to give her the opportunity to share her talent with the world, even if it meant facing the ridicule of the townspeople. He talked to Lily about it, explaining what the craft fair was and what it would mean to enter her carvings. Lily was shy at first, but she eventually agreed. She was excited to show her creations to others, but she was also a little nervous about what they would think. Together, Silas and Lily carefully selected their best carvings for the craft fair. They polished them until they gleamed, and Silas built a small display stand to showcase them. They knew that they would be facing a lot of skepticism and judgment, but they were determined to prove the townspeople wrong. They were ready to show the world the hidden talent that had been blossoming in their little workshop. They were ready to show them Lily's magic. The day of the Harmony Creek Annual Craft Fair dawned bright and sunny. Silas and Lily arrived early, setting up their display stand in a quiet corner of the town square. Silas arranged Lily's carvings carefully, making sure each one was perfectly positioned to catch the light. Lily stood beside him, her small hands clasped tightly in front of her, her eyes darting nervously around the bustling square. As the townspeople began to arrive, they noticed Silas and Lily's stand. Whispers rippled through the crowd, followed by snickers and pointed fingers. "Look at Silas," Mrs. Higgins said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Trying to sell those little trinkets. Who would ever buy those?" Mr. Abernathy chuckled. "He probably made them himself. No wonder they look so rustic." Many people stopped to stare, but few bothered to take a closer look at Lily's carvings. They were too busy judging Silas and Lily, too quick to dismiss their efforts. Lily's face fell as she overheard their comments. She felt a lump forming in her throat, and tears welled up in her eyes. Silas saw her distress and gently squeezed her hand. "Don't pay them any mind, Lily," he whispered. "Their opinions don't matter. What matters is that you're proud of your work." But Lily couldn't help but feel discouraged. She had hoped that the townspeople would see the beauty in her carvings, that they would recognize her talent. But instead, they were just laughing at her and Silas, just like they always did. As the morning wore on, Silas and Lily's stand remained mostly empty. Other vendors were busy selling their quilts, pottery, and paintings, but no one seemed interested in Lily's carvings. Silas tried to remain optimistic, but even he was starting to feel disheartened. Just when they were about to give up hope, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. A tall, elegant woman stepped out, her eyes scanning the craft fair with a discerning gaze. She was dressed in a stylish suit and wore a pair of large, fashionable sunglasses. She looked completely out of place in the small town of Harmony Creek. The woman paused in front of Silas and Lily's stand, her eyes widening in surprise. She slowly reached out and picked up one of Lily's carvings, a small wooden rabbit with intricate details. She examined it closely, turning it over in her hands, her expression growing more and more impressed. Lily held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. This could be the moment that changed everything. "These are truly remarkable," the woman said, her voice soft but firm. "The detail, the craftsmanship, it's extraordinary. Who is the artist?" Silas stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. My daughter, Lily, made them," he said, gesturing to Lily, who was hiding behind him, peeking out shyly. The woman smiled at Lily, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "You are a very talented young lady," she said. "My name is Ms. Eleanor Ainsworth, and I'm an art collector. I travel the world searching for unique and inspiring pieces." She paused, looking at Lily's carvings with admiration. "And I must say, I haven't seen anything quite like this in a very long time." The townspeople, who had been snickering just moments before, fell silent. They watched in disbelief as Ms. Ainsworth continued to examine Lily's carvings, her praise growing more effusive with each passing moment. "I would like to buy all of them," Ms. Ainsworth announced, turning to Silas. "Every single one." Silas was stunned. "All of them," he stammered. But they're just little carvings." "They are more than just little carvings," Ms. Ainsworth insisted. "They are masterpieces. They capture the essence of nature, the spirit of life. They are priceless." She pulled out her checkbook and wrote out a check for a sum that made Silas's head spin. It was more money than he had ever seen in his entire life. The townspeople gasped. Mrs. Higgins dropped her bag of flour, and Mr. Abernathy nearly choked on his coffee. They couldn't believe what they were witnessing. The little girl they had all laughed at, the odd old man they had all dismissed, were suddenly the center of attention, the recipients of extraordinary praise and fortune. Ms. Ainsworth carefully packed up Lily's carvings, her movements precise and respectful. As she was leaving, she turned to Lily and said, "Never stop creating, my dear. You have a gift, a rare and precious gift. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise." And with that, she stepped back into her sleek black car and drove away, leaving the townspeople of Harmony Creek in stunned silence. The laughter had stopped. The whispers had ceased. Only the sound of the wind rustling through the trees could be heard in the town square. The shock was complete. The news of Lily's success spread through Harmony Creek like wildfire. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know Silas and Lily. The same people who had whispered and laughed now flocked to their doorstep, offering congratulations and apologies. Mrs. Higgins brought over a freshly baked apple pie, her eyes filled with remorse. "I always knew Lily was a special girl," she said, her voice trembling. I just didn't realize how special." Mr. Abernathy delivered their mail with a smile, his usual gruff demeanor replaced with warmth and admiration. "Lily's carvings are a real treasure," he said. "The whole town is so proud of her." Silas and Lily were overwhelmed by the sudden change in attitude. They had never sought fame or fortune, but they were grateful for the recognition and the respect that Lily's talent had earned them. The money from Ms. Ainsworth allowed Silas and Lily to live comfortably for the first time in their lives. They fixed up their old house, bought new tools for the workshop, and even took a trip to the city to visit an art museum. But more than the material possessions, Lily's success brought them something even more valuable: acceptance. The townspeople of Harmony Creek finally saw them for who they truly were: kind, talented, and deserving of love and respect. Lily's carvings began to appear in art galleries and museums around the world. People from all walks of life were captivated by her unique style and her ability to capture the beauty of nature in wood. She became a celebrated artist, her name known far and wide. But despite her fame and success, Lily never forgot the small town of Harmony Creek and the people who had once doubted her. She used her platform to speak out against prejudice and to encourage others to embrace their own unique talents. She showed the world that even the smallest and quietest among us can achieve great things if we are given the opportunity and the support to pursue our dreams. And Silas, the odd old woodcarver, became known as the man who believed in Lily, the man who nurtured her talent and helped her to share her gift with the world. Their lives were forever changed. The town was forever changed. But Lily and Silas didn't let the fame change them. They remembered what it was like to be outsiders, to be judged and ridiculed. So, they decided to use their newfound wealth to help others in need. They started by donating a large sum of money to the orphanage where Lily had grown up, ensuring that the children there would have better food, clothing, and educational opportunities. They also established a scholarship fund for young artists, providing financial assistance to talented individuals who couldn't afford art school. In Harmony Creek, they helped to revitalize the town square, building a new community center where people could gather for events and activities. They also funded the construction of a new library, filled with books and resources for people of all ages. But perhaps their most significant contribution was the creation of a free art program for children in the town. Lily taught woodcarving classes, sharing her skills and passion with a new generation of artists. She encouraged them to express themselves creatively, to embrace their unique talents, and to never give up on their dreams. The townspeople of Harmony Creek were deeply grateful for Lily and Silas's generosity. They realized that they had been wrong to judge them, that they had missed out on the opportunity to appreciate their kindness and talent. They learned a valuable lesson about the importance of acceptance, compassion, and open-mindedness. Harmony Creek was no longer a town known for its gossip and prejudice. It was now a town known for its art, its community spirit, and its unwavering support for the underdog. Lily and Silas had transformed the town, not just with their wealth, but with their hearts. They had shown everyone that even the smallest act of kindness can make a big difference and that even the most unlikely individuals can achieve great things if they are given the chance to shine. They had turned Harmony Creek into a truly harmonious place. It was a place where everyone was welcome, everyone was valued, and everyone was encouraged to pursue their dreams. It was a place where laughter was shared, not used as a weapon. It was, finally, a place of true harmony. Years passed, and Lily grew into a young woman, her talent only continuing to flourish. Her carvings were now displayed in the most prestigious galleries around the world, but she never forgot her roots in Harmony Creek. She frequently returned to visit Silas and to teach her art classes, inspiring a new generation of young carvers. Silas, though his hair had turned even whiter and his hands a bit shakier, was filled with pride. He watched Lily with a twinkle in his eye, marveling at the beautiful person she had become. He was no longer the lonely old woodcarver that the townspeople had once pitied. He was now a respected and beloved member of the community, admired for his kindness, his wisdom, and his unwavering support for Lily. One sunny afternoon, Lily and Silas were sitting in their workshop, carving side by side. The windows were open, and the scent of wood filled the air. Sunlight streamed in, illuminating their faces and casting long shadows on the floor. Lily was working on a carving of a hummingbird, its wings frozen in mid-flight. Silas was carving a small wooden heart, his hands moving with practiced ease. As they worked, they were surrounded by friends and neighbors. Mrs. Higgins was knitting a scarf, Mr. Abernathy was reading a book, and several children were sketching in their notebooks, inspired by Lily's art. The workshop was filled with laughter and conversation, with a sense of warmth and belonging. It was a far cry from the lonely days of Silas's past. He looked at Lily, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude. "I'm so proud of you, Lily," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've brought so much joy to this town, and to the world." Lily smiled and reached out to take his hand. "I couldn't have done it without you, Silas," she said. "You believed in me, even when no one else did." They sat in silence for a moment, their hands clasped together, their hearts full. They were surrounded by a supportive community, by friends who loved and cherished them. They had proven that kindness and talent can overcome prejudice and negativity, that even the most unlikely individuals can achieve great things if they are given the opportunity and the support to pursue their dreams. And as the sun set over Harmony Creek, casting a golden glow over the town, Lily and Silas knew that they had created something truly special, something that would last for generations to come.